Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Shake Sales. I'm Sujan Patel, the CEO and founder of Mailshake. Today, I'm excited to talk to Josh Calcanis really about a slew of topics that would help you as a sales leader, manage your team, culture, and talking and ending with the very trendy topic of AI. So let's jump in it. Josh, before we jump in, can you tell me about yourself and give us a quick background?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on today. I I would say I didn't follow the traditional path for sales people or sales leaders. I didn't think I was actually going to be in sales. My first introduction was actually at my aunt's company, and she had a sales role and distributorship, and I ended up kind of being like the internal admin assistant, filed paperwork, that kind of thing. So I got to ride along with one of the reps there and got to see sales, paid sales in action. It was door to door sales, anything from medical facilities to assisted living facilities. So I got an introduction then. And that was, I would say, high school, trying to make some money, and totally forgot about sales until I jumped into UCF's professional selling program and realized that this actually could probably be a pretty lucrative career. And I was decent at it. And so accepted my first sales role with a company called Millennium Health. It was outside sales. It was toxicology at the points of drug testing, and took a starter role. Said, here's your swimmies. If you can survive your first couple of months, then we'll promote you. And that's what happened. I had a lot of support from the leaders there, great coaches, people I still am connected with, and got a promotion over to Los Angeles, then Seattle. And that was a lot of my experience in both being an individual contributor as a sales rep, as a customer support rep, and then both a sales trainer and manager. So I had a lot of experience doing that kind of stuff in the medical sales. We also had a go-to-market for a genetic test as well. So I got a little bit of experience in that. Finally left, said I want to get into the startup world, and it was a bumpy start for the first couple of years. Finally found Didna, where I'm the VP of sales now. Been there for 4.5 years now. Had 2 years at Inc. 5000, which is not all me or the sales team. It's an awesome product and an awesome service, and some pretty solid leadership for the beginning portion of the company.
Yeah, awesome. So let's jump in. So where can what's like let's talk about like sales growth and some key strategies or tactics that you've been able to leverage, or you find that worked today.
Yeah. So I think the very first one is splitting out strategy versus tactics. So for some of the leaders watching, the strategy side of things is, I think, focusing on diversifying the revenue that you're pulling in based on the products that have already been built. And what I mean by that, and what I've seen both at Millennium, the first medical job, and also at Didna, is taking a look at some of your cash cow, your bread and butter, right? And figuring out, based on customer feedback, how you can actually turn around and turn that into maybe even an a la carte service, right? So Millennium, we went from toxicology, we got feedback, we saw there is an additional supplemental service that we could offer, which ended up going into genetics. So basically could show you what med would work best for you, right? So oxycodone metabolizes into oxymorphone. We can provide that to the doctor, and then we can also do a drug test. It didn't. It was the same idea, right? We sell software, essentially management services, to people who own websites, publishers, and we had an additional way to sell our software to larger publishers that might not be the perfect product fit for what we originally got started with. So taking a look at the current products that you're making money on as a leader, and figuring out a way to diversify revenue within that channel, almost kind of making it wider. The other portion of that would be actually kind of a segue from that, and trying to find a co-founder basically coined this term, but it's out there. You've heard it before, probably. It's basically a flywheel, right? Is your main bread and butter. How can this continue to feed everything, right? So if our sales focus is going out to publishers, people who own websites, and that's something that we call inventory, right? They have inventory for ads. Then our sales team has to go out and find additional inventory. Then that will feed the demand partnerships that we create. So the people that are buying that inventory, they want access to that inventory that we're going out to sell. And then as we get more demand, CPMs, revenue for those publishers go up. So it's a full cycle that continues to feed itself. So if you can look internally at your business and even externally at some of your competitors, what can you do to create that type of internal flywheel? You still need sales, you still need customer success, but what can you look at and turn your company into that kind of a flywheel, right? In terms of like a strategy. Tactics, I would have to say that from that marketplace and flywheel conversation, I think a sales leader in rep would be losing out on a really easy opportunity if they're not building a lead funnel that's a referral partner program kind of thing, right? So that's you already get referrals as a salesperson if you're doing your job right, but there's a way as a sales leader to incentivize people to refer people over to your company, and it doesn't have to take a large chunk out of your net profit at the end of the day, and that can be some of the highest close rates that you're gonna see. So I'd say in terms of just generally building a lead funnel and a tactic, I feel that's an obvious one. But how do you do it? I think a referral partner program should be something that everybody's looking at, and that's just because people are more prepared buyers, which leads into that other tactic is basically qualifying whoever you're actually having this conversation with far more than you ever possibly could have before. Because the buyers are so much more prepared, you need to tactically be prepared for whatever this person is going to throw at you, whether it's a call, an in-person call. And this is kind of tying to like actual knowledge on the rep side, but you can get access to too much information right now as a rep. So if you come in and you don't know what's going on with this client and you're just really swinging for the fences, you're already kind of losing. So you need to be prepped and ready to go on that.
Gotcha. It makes sense. And some of these things I think are things that are so easy for a rep to drop the ball, especially when doing volume of sales and looking for the greatest and newest things when they forget the basics.
Yep.
All right. But let's move on to the next thing. I'm going to skip some questions because we're just because you hit a lot of topics here, a lot of value on that first thing. I want to move to, so it's 2024. What are biggest opportunities and what are biggest challenges for sales rep?
Yeah. So this one was fun for me. And this is because I think it ties or segues from that knowledge piece. And you might have already had this before, but basically being the most knowledgeable rep, right? I think I've seen this in my current role, and especially when I was at Millennium as a rep, and knowing everything about your particular industry will do two things for a rep. One, it's going to build you credibility, and that's both offensive and defensive. Offensive in the fact that you're building credibility with the client before you even get in front of them. And then defensive in the fact that when that client goes and meets with a competitor, because they will, you already are a step above because you are the credible rep. So if this other rep doesn't do their job, guess who just wins and you weren't even there? It was because you built that credibility up front. So both offensive and defensive play. The reason I say that's the opportunity for the rep is back to what I said, is there's just too much information. There's podcasts like what you're doing right now. There's YouTube, there's books, there's so much stuff out there that you can learn as a rep and information that you can find on clients and prospects that you should be knowledgeable in what's going on. You should be a resource to these prospects. And it's easier now than ever to actually do that. The other opportunity I see coming, and I'm not entirely sure if this is going to be accurate or not, but I'm going to take a shot at it. And that's going to be the rise of 1099. And that's because of what's happening with any type of recession. Like look back at what happened with COVID, right? All these layoffs and all of a sudden the 1099 and remote work took off. I think we're going in that direction again. And we're already seeing a bunch of layoffs. So as a salesperson, if you're offering some of the process and experience that you already have, there's a lot of people that are looking for that type of experience, and you can probably pull out another 5-10 hours a week and provide value and maybe even turn it into a retainer, your next W2. So I think that's a really big opportunity that sales reps, leaders, SDRs don't pay attention to, only because sales is more than a 40-hour-a-week job, and you get distracted. You forget that there's other things out there, and you have a lot of value as a salesperson. The really big challenges, is kind of a cop out, but not really, is the hitting quotas for 2024. I don't know if you follow Corporate Bro, Ross, and the Bravado community, but it's a very large sales community that he's pulled together. And I think he started with memes and jokes on sales and marketing, but it's a very resourceful community that you can take a look at. And he did a poll on all the data for reps on people hitting quota. And I think 2023, it was like 50 to 60% of reps didn't hit quota. I don't think that's a rep problem. I think that's a quota expectation problem. And with people continuing to cut, layoffs, that kind of thing, I think tools are getting cut. And normally, like we saw in COVID, marketing's cut first. There's your inbound, there's your paid search, there's your lead funnel for portions of reps, right? I think tools that you're using like Gong, Chorus, Firefly to record calls, that stuff's getting cut too. Certain outbound tools, that's going to make it harder for reps to hit quota. And the one thing that's not changing is quota. So I think that's going to become more challenging for reps, especially going into like if you look at the macroeconomic issues right now. The other two things, and I know we're probably running a little short on time, more prepared buyers. This goes back to just the knowledge side. You got to be prepared. These guys are doing just as much research as probably the reps are, and they might be an expert. And if you're not prepared, that's going to be something that reps are going to run into. I think this is a continuation from last year in 2022. And then the digital fatigue, which I mentioned, Sujan, when I first started talking, was everybody's getting emails. Everybody's getting LinkedIn. How are you actually different? And it's just doing little things like adding images to emails and stuff like that. So I think you have got to be a little different. I actually just got an email response this morning because I'm still doing outbound for some of the teams. And while I didn't get an SQL or a meeting out of this, he literally said, we got most of our needs covers for this particular project, but I appreciate the clever note. In a world with so many solicitations, yours did catch me. So it's just a fun response that you say again. It's not a win, but at the end of the day, you've got to stand out in a world of digital fatigue for a lot of buyers.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, it's with the noise and everything going on and like quotas don't change. So everyone's doing more. It's like this like cycle that keeps going and making everything busier, which is frankly, I think COVID and the COVID boom made sellers lazy and shitty because everyone was buying like even like from everything from like sales of cars to software to whatever, like lawn care. You had more business than you needed. So you did not worry about customer service. The sales reps of car dealerships, like they didn't follow up because they like had more buyers than inventory, right?
Yeah.
And same with software. Like everyone was buying. So like, I'm just going to move on to the next one. I'm always getting new leads. It's like the age old problem with sales. Like, focus too much attention on the next deal versus the current opportunity. Anyways, Josh, I want to thank you for joining the show. I want to quickly ask you, what is that in the background? I see a weird, is that a racetrack?
Yeah,
motorcycle.
Racetrack up here. I used to race motorcycles, and then that's a plane. I also fly in the free time.
Love it. Love it. You and I have very similar hobbies. I'm a big adrenaline junkie. Flying is on my like list of activities and hobbies. I do a lot of motorcycle track days and such as well. So nice. We should have started with that. But yeah, that's cool.
That's awesome.
But anyways, for folks that want to follow along or kind of keep in touch, where can they find you?
Yeah, so my personal site's joshcalcanis.com. It has a lot of the podcasts, YouTube that I post up, in some of the consulting that I've done before. I also have a personal finance site. It's called theinvestingcircle.com. And you can actually sign up to be an author as well and get a rev share. So both of those are two places to find me. And of course, LinkedIn is a popular place too.
Love it. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.